Welcome to my happy place. This morning we are working with our next spin effects in our series, and this is going to be spin effects number 5. Again, a lot of markings, a lot of different things we can do with this template. Again, it does have a tag. I may come back later and do another with the tags to show you how that works. But what I'm most amazed with is the shape of this. It's really different than anything we've done before. It's got this beautiful, I think that's, I've never been sure which is concave and which is convex. So let's just say it's not a straight line. I think that's the best way to describe it. We're again going to be using an 11-inch square and a 7.5-inch template. The 7.5-inch template means that it is 7.5 inches from tip to tip. Okay. This comes again in a set of 5, and the sizes are 3.5, 5.5, 7.5, 9.5, 11.5. Here is a rendition of an 8-point rotation on here. A picture of the templates themselves, and of course I'm still working with the low shank template. When we open up our instruction sheet, we're going to notice it says available in 7 sizes. We have the 5 sizes that we have in the set, plus a mini 2.5 and 1.5 inch set. So here's just some pictures on how it looks with different rotations and different types of rotations. We are going to do 8 and 16. On the back shows us some new or different things we can do with it. It also has a short bio about Leonie West, who is the designer and inventor of the Westalee design templates and rulers, now manufactured by and sold by So Steady. So let's go ahead and move this on out, as I like to do. Every time I start a new block, I want to check my foot height and I want to check my tension. So I like to come into a little area that's probably going to be cut off. I assume it's going to be cut off, and just take a few stitches backwards, forwards in a circle. And that's all you need. It's just a few stitches to be able to check our tension and our foot height. We want our foot to move smoothly across the top of our fabric, just kissing the top of the fabric. If it's up too high, we will get skipped stitches. If it's down too low, it's going to be difficult to maneuver and move around. I always say I like my foot to kiss the fabric. So looking here, I see no bobbin thread coming up on top, and back here, I don't see any top thread coming back on the bobbin or on the lower back side, which tells me that this is great tension. So we are ready to start. One of the things that I like to tell you is get accustomed to working in different directions. And what I mean by that is take a block such as this and do your entire 16 rotations without rotating the block. That is always really good practice. Well, it's not necessary, so to speak, with this size block. It's preparing us for when we have whole cloth quilts and we can't be turning the quilt every time we turn to do a different rotation. The other thing that I like to do is I like to number my reference lines. It just helps me in the when I'm doing a more intricate pattern. It really does help to know which line I'm going to use which template on. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line up in the front and in the back, and I'm going to come do one full rotation around. Take that first stitch almost in place or in place, and you'll see this is a really nice gentle curve. Okay, going to put my foot down. I'm going to go ahead and release these threads now. I'm not going to bury those threads because we're going to come back to this center point many times in this stitch out. Okay, want to make note of something. You'll see how our template is nice and round. What that does is that makes that foot snuggle right in there. It's also going to make the point of our design very pointy. Okay? Just want to mention that. Now we're going to come back to the center. And if you've been watching as I have been doing these spin effects blocks here, you're going to know that I am going to stitch now on the opposite side of the block. So I'm going to go from this side to this side as opposed to around the block. Reason we do that is because we want to make sure that our blocks draw in on an even keel. And that's how it'll happen if we go to the opposite side. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this template. I'm not going to take my hand off the template, but what you will see is I've taken the thread out. I'm going to just go ahead and snip that thread off. Be careful not to snip your fabric. I have done that. Okay. There we go. Come back up to that top. Take one extra stitch here. Don't hesitate there too long, because if you take several stitches there, what you can end up with is a thread ball. Again, here we want to pause for one extra stitch, and we come back to center. Needle down, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this. And this is our third rotation. And we're going in a north, south, east, west orientation, except for the fact that I am turning the block as we use it. And I am doing that strictly because I want you to be able to see all of the stitching going on. Okay, now we're going to turn it again, and this will be our fourth rotation. We can do as many or as few rotations as we want on our blocks. We can have them coming from any direction we wish as well. The possibilities of the templates and the manner in which we design are truly infinite. We can do so many things. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and back this off. I'm going to take my gate out and show you how cool that 4-point rotation is. Isn't that awesome? Love it. Absolutely love it. So now let's go ahead and add those rotations on the 45-degree lines. And we're going to put our gate back on. and reach out. Again, I'm going to still stitch opposite sides. What's going to happen here is you're going to see that these lines are going to cross to some degree. And when they do, we're going to have secondary designs being formed. And sometimes I like those just as much as the regular designs because they can be so very interesting. If your lines are off, your reference lines are off just a hair, don't worry about that. The reference lines are coming out. We're going to iron those off. What I've used on here is a friction pen, and it is heat erasable. Some people worry because it can cause a ghost shadow on your fabric. And what I have found is when I'm preparing my blocks, I do lay down several layers of Best Press, which is a starch alternative. That actually forms a barrier between the fabric and the pen. If you still end up with what we call a ghost shadow, which is kind of like a white shadow after the pen has been heat ironed off, what you can do, I'm told, and I have not tried this, is go ahead, put a layer of Best Press on there, and that's supposed to help take that off. If that does not work, don't worry, it will come out when it's washed. And the friction pens, being heat sensitive, will come back in the cold. I did try this. I put one of my pieces in the freezer after I had ironed it off, and the lines did come back. The way to avoid that is by washing, or at least spritzing it well with water and then take it off. And the reason I tell you this is for those of you who enter competitions and your quilts fly. The belly of the planes are very cold and they're not heated, obviously, and your lines could come back, and I'd hate to see you disqualified from a competition because of that. So you really do want to use an alternative method, or make sure that you've taken those lines off adequately. So here we have our design with our 8 points. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go ahead now and complicate things a little bit by putting 16 rotations on. And again, just like I did in the beginning, I'm going to go from one side to the other, back and forth. So here we go. I've also had a lot of people tell me, oh, I get such a big wad of stitching in the center. What I like to do is go ahead and move off about a half of a stitch each time I come to my center, and then I flip my template. So you'll see I'm not exactly at the center here, very close. I flip my template to the other side, line it up, and then I like to walk one stitch up. And that way I'm overpowering that center. The other thing that I like to talk about whenever we're doing a curvy line or a circular design, we want to shorten that stitch length up just a tad. It's going to make a much smoother curve than if you just tried to stitch it with a normal size stitch. Okay, so I think we'll come here next. And I'll do one more for you. Then I'm going to go ahead and put you on pause, because watching me stitch out all these rotations is about as much fun as watching paint dry. And I don't want to bore you to tears here. These are just short videos, and I hope they're helpful in explaining how our Spin Effects templates work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Here is my last rotation. I'm going to try and shed some light on this. There we go. Okay, my last rotation. And okay, my foot feels like it may have slipped. However, it's very possible also that the batting may be just a little thinner over here than it is on the other side. I know that seems a little strange, but I have found with this particular roll of batting, it has had some consistency issues. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take this out. We're going to clip those threads, and I will bury them. And here is our 16 rotation Spin Effects 5. Remember when I mentioned in the beginning the secondary designs? And here we see this little sliver of petals and this little triangular type shape coming to light as we do those extra 8 rotations on it. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying the whole series. I really enjoy hearing from you.